Animal bite.
So today we are going to learn about animal bite and its management. So why is animal bite important? Because it may cause a very fatal disease called rabies.
Definition of rabies.
So rabies is defined as an acute, highly fatal viral disease of the central nervous system.
Which are the animals responsible for the transmission of the disease?
As rabies is a zoonosis, that is, it is transmitted by animals. Many animals are involved. Basically, they are the warm-blooded animals or the carnivorous animals. Dogs count for about 99% of human infection, and they are a threat to more than 3.3 billion people. Cats, jackals, wolves, bats, raccoons, skunks, mongooses. So basically, any wild animal, if causes a bite to a human, then anti-rabies prophylaxis should be considered and the treatment should be given.
Geographic distribution.
Natural barrier to rabies is water. Rabies free area is defined as an area where there is no case of indigenously acquired rabies in man or any animal species for 2 years. So areas which are rabies free include Australia, Taiwan, Cyprus, Iceland, Ireland, Japan, Malta, New Zealand, United Kingdom, islands of Western Pacific, Finland, Norway, Sweden, Lakshadweep, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So rabies occurs in more than 150 countries and territories across the world, and in India about 20,000 deaths per year occur due to rabies.
Epidemiological determinants. Agent.
So agent is the Lissa virus type 1 belonging to family Rhabdoviridae. It is a bullet shaped neurotropic virus and it is a RNA virus. You can see this is the bullet shaped virus containing RNA, ribonucleoprotein is there and glycoprotein are there. So street virus is recovered from naturally occurring rabies and incubation period is 20 to 60 days. Whereas fixed virus is prepared from serial brain to brain passage of the street virus and the incubation period is 4 to 6 days. Now this fixed virus is used to prepare rabies vaccine.
Source of infection.
So saliva of rabid animals, the animals we saw previously, their saliva is the main source of infection. In dogs and cats, the virus may be present 3 to 6 days before the onset of clinical symptoms.
Host factors.
All warm-blooded animals are susceptible to rabies, and in humans, the age group involved mostly is 1 to 24 years, and high-risk population like laboratory staff working with rabies virus, veterinarians, dog handlers, hunters, field naturalists are at high risk.
Mode of transmission.
So rabies can be transmitted by deep bite, scratches, licks and sometimes inhalation of the aerosols containing rabies virus.
Incubation period.
Incubation period commonly is 1 to 3 months. Rarely it may take 1 week to many years and it depends upon the site of the bite. So more towards the brain, more likely to spread the infection. Severity of the bite, number of wounds, amount of virus injected, species of biting animal, protection provided by the clothing and treatment undertaken.
Pathogenesis.
Virus replicates in muscle or connective tissue cells. It attaches to the nerve endings, enters peripheral nerves, moves to CNS through the nerve associated tissue space, then again moves to the peripheral nerves and it involves the skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, adrenal glands, skin and salivary glands. Involvement of salivary glands is very important because that is the main mode of transmission.
Clinical features.
So basically there are two stages. First is the prodromal stage and second is the excitation stage. In prodromal stage there is headache, malaise, sore throat, mild fever, tingling at wound site. In excitation stage the neural symptoms are seen, and most important and first involved is sensory, then motor, then sympathetic, and then mental. So sensory is intolerant to noise, bright light, cold air, that is aerophobia. So even fanning of cold air can cause spasms. Motor, we see increased reflexes, muscle spasms. Sympathetic, dilated pupils, perspiration, salivation, lacrimation. And mental is fear of death, anger, irritability, depression. So clinical features also include hydrophobia, which is pathognomic of rabies, in which there is mere sight of or sound of water may provoke spasm or muscles of deglutition. So basically hydrophobia is a symptom present in animals. So it may also lead to spread of infection, because if the dog is not able to swallow, then the saliva will come out and dog will bite and the infection will get transmitted. So rabies also causes convulsions, paralysis, coma, and leads to death.
Diagnosis.
So diagnosis is mainly done by clinical history and examination. Then antigen detection can be done using immunofluorescence of skin biopsy, virus isolation from saliva and other secretions.
Treatment.
So there is no specific treatment for rabies. Basically the patient is kept in isolation in a quiet room, sedatives are given, muscle relaxants, mainly Crurar agents are given, hydration, diuresis, respiratory and cardiac support are provided. The healthcare personnel who are taking care should wear face masks, gloves, goggles and aprons. They should take pre-exposure prophylaxis, and if any healthcare professional has any wound or injury, then that person should not be taking care of rabies patients.
Prevention.
It includes post-exposure prophylaxis, pre-exposure prophylaxis, and post-exposure prophylaxis of persons who have been previously vaccinated.
Post-exposure prophylaxis.
So this involves local treatment, which is very important. So cleansing is done, flushing and washing of the wound with soap and water under a running tap for more than 15 minutes. Chemical treatment involves alcohol, tincture 0.01% povidone iodine. There should not be any application of lime or salt on the wound. Suturing should be avoided. It should not be done within 24 to 48 hours, and it can be done after that, because if we do suturing initially, then it may cause more wounds and allow the virus to penetrate into the nerves. Also, if the wound is big, then antibiotics should be given to prevent bacterial growth, and anti-tetanus measures like TT injection should be given if not no TT injection has been taken in last 5 years.
Observation of biting dog.
Ideally the PEP should be started immediately after the bite, and the dog should be observed for 10 days. So if the dog remains healthy and there are no symptoms for 10 days, then post exposure prophylaxis can be converted to pre exposure prophylaxis.
Vaccination status of the biting dog.
Although unvaccinated dogs are more likely to transmit rabies, vaccinated dogs can also do so if the vaccination of the biting dog was ineffective for any reason. So a history of rabies vaccination in a dog is not always a guarantee that the biting dog is not rabid. So dog vaccine failures may occur because of improper administration or poor quality of the vaccine, poor health status of the dog, and sometimes one vaccine dose does not provide long lasting protection.
Provoked versus unprovoked bite.
So a provoked bite does not mean that it is the animal is not rabid. So a provoked dog bite should be managed same as way as the non-provoked bite is managed. So it is difficult to understand what provokes a dog. So it is prudent to start PEP at the earliest.
Contraindications and precautions.
So as rabies is nearly 100% fatal disease, there is no contraindication to post-exposure prophylaxis. But children who are taking chloroquine for malaria treatment or prophylaxis, they may have a reduced response to intradermal rabies vaccination. Therefore, these patients should receive the rabies vaccine intramuscularly.
Categories.
So there are three categories of animal bite. Category 1 is touching or feeding of animals, licks on intact skin, contact of intact skin with secretions, excretion of rabid animal, human case. So in this case, post-exposure prophylaxis is not required if reliable case history is available. In category 2, there is nibbling of uncovered skin, minor scratches or abrasions without bleeding. So in this, wound management and anti-rabies vaccine ARV is given. In category 3, single or multiple transdermal bites or scratches, licks on broken skin, contamination of mucous membrane with saliva, that is licks. So here we have to give wound management, rabies immunoglobulin and anti-rabies vaccine. So we saw category 1, no treatment required, category 2, wound management ARV, and category 3, wound management ARV plus rabies immunoglobulin. So in cases when there is immunocompromised patients, for immunocompromised patients even with category 2, we have to give rabies immunoglobulin.
Rabies immunoglobulin.
So rabies immunoglobulin, it binds with the virus, it neutralizes it, and it provides passive immunity. It is mainly of two types: equine rabies immunoglobulin ERIG and human rabies immunoglobulin HRIG. So equine rabies immunoglobulin is derived from horses. It is heterologous and the dose is 40 international units per kg. Whereas human rabies immunoglobulin or HRIG is derived from human and it is homologous. The dose is 20 international units per kg. Indication, as I already said, that all category 3 bites should be given rabies immunoglobulin, whereas category 2 bites in immunocompromised patients should also be given rabies immunoglobulin. So this is the ERIG Equirab. This is HRIG human rabies immunoglobulin. It is very costly, around 5,000 rupees for this one vial. Then rabies immunoglobulin should be brought to 25 to 30 degrees Celsius before administration. As much as possible, dose should be infiltrated into and around the wound, and remaining is given intramuscularly at a site distant from the vaccine site. So suppose you have given vaccine at left deltoid region, then don't give the rabies immunoglobulin there because it will neutralize the vaccine. And it is administered preferably within 24 hours of bite, but can be given up to 7th day after first dose of ARV.
Rabies human monoclonal antibody.
So it is a new thing. It is completely human IgG1 monoclonal antibody that binds to the ectodomain of the G glycoprotein produced by recombinant technology. It is alternative to rabies immunoglobulin. Advantages include easy availability, standardized production quality, greater effectiveness, no requirement of animal in its production, and less adverse events. The dose is 3.33 international units per kg and it can be given up to 7th day of first day of ARV. Ideally, it should also be given within 24 hours of the wound. So the dose is very less, so what we can do is that we can dilute it into normal saline and we can infiltrate all of the dose around the wound. This is rabies human monoclonal antibody.
Anti-rabies vaccine.
So anti-rabies vaccine or ARV, the indication is that all dog bite victims of category 2 and 3 exposures, irrespective of age and body weight, require the same number of injections and a dose per injection. So the dose does not depend upon age or body weight, it is same for all patients. So what are the regimens? So there are intradermal regimen and there is the intramuscular regimen. First we'll look at the intradermal regimen. So 1 week 2 site intradermal regimen, Institute Pasteur du Cambodge regimen or 22200 regimen. In this we can use purified chick embryo cell vaccine and purified varicocele rabies vaccine. This regimen involves injection of 0.1 ml of reconstituted vaccine per intradermal site on 2 sites per visit, one on each deltoid area, 1 inch above the insertion of deltoid muscle on days 0, 3, 7. So you can say 22200 means on day 0, which is the first day of vaccine, then 2 doses on day 3 and then 2 doses on day 7. So the day 0 is the date of first dose of administration of ARV and may not be the date of rabies exposure of animal bite. So this is the purified chick embryo cell vaccine and this is purified varicocele rabies vaccine. Now IM regimen or intramuscular regimens. So there are 2 IM regimens. We saw that there was only one intradermal regimen which was 22200. Now IM regimen includes vaccines which can be given are the cell culture vaccines, which is human diploid cell vaccine, PCECV and PVCRV, and purified duck embryo cell vaccine. Now 2 week intramuscular PEP regimen or 4 dose SN regimen or 11110 regimen. In this we give intramuscular administration of 4 injections. So 1 dose of entire vial is given on day 0, day 3, day 7 and 4th dose between 14 to 28. Okay, so this is 1110. 3 week intramuscular PEP regimen or Zagreb regimen, this is 20101. So it consists of 2 site intramuscular injections on day 0 and 1 site on day 7 and 21. So remember once again, 1 week 2 site intradermal regimen, Institute Pasteur du Cambodge regimen is 22200. Intramuscular regimens include 2 week intramuscular PEP regimen, 4 dose SN regimen 11110, 3 week intramuscular PEP regimen Zagreb regimen 20101. This is the human diploid cell vaccine. This is purified duck embryo vaccine. So these 2 vaccines can be given only by intramuscular route, but the other 2 vaccines which we saw, purified varicocele rabies vaccine and purified chick embryo cell vaccine, can be given both intradermal and intramuscular. So day 0 indicates date of administration of first dose of vaccine. Deltoid region is the ideal site. In case of infants and young children less than 2 years of age, anterolateral part of the thigh is the preferred site.
Management of re-exposure in previously vaccinated individuals.
So if re-exposed persons have previously received and documented full pre or post exposure prophylaxis either by intramuscular or intradermal route within last 3 months, then ARV is not required. If more than 3 months have passed, then the patient should now be given 2 doses intramuscular or intradermal on day 0 and day 3 or intradermal 4 sites on day 0. So proper wound toilet should be done and treatment with rabies immunoglobulin or monoclonal antibody is not required. So what are the advantages of pre-exposure prophylaxis? Is that you will not require rabies immunoglobulin or monoclonal antibody, and you will not require any ARV if you have taken PEP in last 3 months, and if more than 3 months have passed, less doses are required, 2 doses of intramuscular and or maybe 4 site dose of intradermal.
Pre-exposure prophylaxis.
So for immunologically naive individuals of all age groups, a 2 sites intradermal or a 1 site intramuscular vaccine administration on day 0 and 7 is given. Okay, so 2 sites on day 0 and 7 intradermal or 1 sites on day 0 and 7 intramuscular. So individuals with documented immunodeficiency should be evaluated on a case by case basis and best receive an intradermal or intramuscular pre-exposure prophylaxis schedule as above, plus a third vaccine administered between day 21 to 28. Additionally, in the event of an exposure, a complete PEP course including rabies immunoglobulin or monoclonal antibody is recommended. So for immunodeficient patients, rabies immunoglobulin and monoclonal antibody is to be given at every bite, and also for category 2 bites. So we saw what are the doses. So for intradermal dose, remember the dose is 0.1 ml, and for intramuscular, entire vial should be given.
Please like, comment, share and subscribe.